Welcome to the Lakeshow podcast presented by Jack in the Box. This is a weekly deep dive into the biggest stories and topics surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm Chris McGee. I'm joined by our Spectrum SportsNet Laker insider, Mike Bresnahan, and from Lakers reporter, straight cash homie, Mike Trudell.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
Hey. Explain to the people that are listening via audio.
Yeah.
What shirt you're wearing?
Well, it's
old school.
It's just a shirt that features Randy Moss and the famous saying "straight cash homie." Yep. And look, I'm not going to put Brez's business on the street. He did inquire if it was another Vikings wide receiver of the past, but we're not here to talk about that. It's fine.
Do you think the Vikings are making the playoffs this year?
No, I don't. But I still support my squad. Yeah.
Quarterback issues once Kirk Cousins went down.
We had quarterback issues before Kirk Cousins went down.
Got it.
Yeah. No, so it hasn't been the best life as a Vikings fan. We've had a couple of good runs, but unfortunately, not every fan base is the Laker fan base that have been treated like you since a kid, just been rewarded with great team after great team and great family memory and something to unite around that's actually successful. Yeah. So I having now worked for the Lakers for a long time, it's always easy for me to appreciate what the team has given to its fans, knowing how little has been given to me from my Minnesota fandom in general. Yeah.
Well done. The Twins gave you something when you were a little kid.
Yeah, 87 and 91, and that was the last time that any Minnesota team won.
Yeah.
The North Stars did some damage.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
Just to the finals.
Yeah, they made it to the finals the one time. I believe it was against Pittsburgh. And
early
then,
90s.
Yeah, in 94, when every Minnesota team was
that a Mario Lemieux led Pittsburgh team? Who was on that?
It was, Lemieux, Yager, and then I could recite the rest of the team probably from NHL 93.
Yeah.
Did you have Sega or Super Nintendo back in the day?
It was Sega for us back in the day.
Yeah. That's nice.
I appreciate you guys being here. It's December 27th.
Yeah.
It's a couple of days after Christmas. A lot of people are probably traveling around the world or doing something with their families. And it's dark outside. It's getting a little bit colder.
I traveled to El Segundo today.
You guys are here. You guys are here to put in some time and talk about Laker basketball.
Yeah.
And the Lakers are 16 and 15. They're 9th in the West. They're 2 and 6 in their last 8 games. Remember, they were 15 and 10 after that Vegas trip. We were feeling pretty good. They've hit a little rough stretch, a lot of traveling, as Mike Trudell will tell you. But what do you think this team is right now, Brez?
They need to get to January really, really badly. And once that happens, True, I know you look at the calendar a little bit. Once that happens, I think things start to open up. Because in the first 4 weeks of January, they leave the state once for one game in Utah. They have a couple other road games. One's a designated road game against the Clippers. One's a road game at Golden State. They are home for basically 4 weeks straight. So they got to win the home game against Charlotte. And then the back-to-back, that's not going to be easy. You got Minnesota and New Orleans, New Year's Eve. That won't be easy. But you got to get to January because right now this team is struggling. The defense is not good. We had a graphic in the postgame show, Mike. Since winning the in-season tournament, they're allowing 122.2 points a game or something like that. You just can't win a game in the NBA. You can, actually. They gave up 120 in Oklahoma City. You won that game, but you got to really work on that defense. That's what's killing them right now, Mike.
Yeah, this season has really been fragmented, and you can take apart different segments. And the first part of the year, it was a banged-up team, and they just couldn't quite get enough bodies back to put the optimal lineups out. And they won some and they lost some. It wasn't great. The in-season tournament gave them a rallying cause, and not just for the team, but I think for LeBron specifically in year 21, when it's going to be difficult to bring it both sides of the court, like it is for some players that are 27 in their prime. We just saw Tatum and Brown, for example, for Boston. But in those designated games, we saw what the Lakers can be, and they won the in-season tournament. And then has come the hangover from the in-season tournament where you had to exert so much effort to the point that, like Indiana, New Orleans, they weren't ready for that level of energy and effort because they haven't made the playoff runs that LeBron and AD and the Lakers have done. And so that was a big advantage, I thought, for the Lakers in that context. But since then, not just combining, or I should say, you're combining all of that fatigue from the effort that it took, and then you hit the worst road stretch of the season. And you just alluded to that, Geeter. So it wasn't just the long trips to the East Coast and the Midwest. That was part of it. It was also the 4 days in Las Vegas intermittently, when a lot of teams had that time to kind of get over the mental hurdle of that point of the season breaking. And so all of these things have come together, and you look at the standings and it's like, wait, 16 and 15, 9th in the West?
500.
That's not great. But the way that the West is this year, you're only a couple games back from like the 3 seed. And as Brez alluded to, January is when they can get a little bit fat and happy. So that's all of that is legit. There are reasons why the Lakers are where they are in that context. I do think there are some basketball reasons as well, Keeter. Like they got to figure out the lineup, they got to figure out the bench rotation, all that.
You
but
led me to my
that's
next
a different thing. Yeah.
You led me to my next thing. Lineup. That seems to be the big topic here. And it's not just for me starting lineups. It's rotations and who's paired with whom and who's getting minutes together and how are you staggering. But everyone likes to focus on the starting unit. They're 1-1. That new unit. It's Cam Reddish, it's Taurean Prince, it's Vando, it's LeBron, and it's AD. Won in OKC. Rough start in Boston. Came back into that game, end up losing. I guess the knock is not a lot of offense in that group. What are your thoughts? Is it too soon to judge?
Yeah, I think it's too soon. Jared Vanderbilt, after practice today, he said, "Hey, we just had our first practice with this unit." So I'm like, okay, that's fair. It's weird to have a new starting 5 just go into a game with it, and then another game with it, and not be able to practice. They haven't practiced, Mike, in a long time. So finally, they're getting some of that. So you got to see how it looks. But yeah, if Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish aren't hitting, then maybe we see Austin Reaves go back to the starters, which would damage his 6th Man of the Year hopes, since he's the leader in that category in Vegas right now. But yeah, it's a little too soon. I do worry about the offense, but got to give them a little bit of time. They just had their first practice together as a starting 5, Mike.
There was a quote real quick before you jump in. B. Moore, what was that quote? Something about Cam Reddish and I can't hear all of a sudden. Vando and Cam Reddish got to contribute from Darvin Ham.
Yeah.
It wasn't there, but it's gone. I don't know where it went. But anyway, that was the quote is somewhere.
Perfect.
Yeah. So do you know that quote from Darvin Ham?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I was there, and so I'm sure I heard it.
Basically,
but
it's Cam Reddish and Vando. We're getting opportunities. You're in that corner.
Yeah.
We got to make something happen.
Yeah. So, okay, a couple of things. And I'll just say, Brez mentioned the name Austin Reaves. I do think that the most optimized starting lineup would include Austin Reaves, and I would probably put him in the Reddish spot. And then when Reddish comes in off the bench, you can get some continuation of what you're getting from Jared Vanderbilt and all of the perimeter ball pressure with size that you can put onto opposing guards and certain wings. So I think that would allow the Lakers also to have the secondary creator next to LeBron. You're not taxing him too much throughout the regular season of having to be the point guard, having to get everybody looks and all that, and then still do everything else he does in year 21. So that's just my own personal take on it. As to where the coaches are and what they're going to get to, I think they've had a tough job this year with all of the guys in and out. And Vanderbilt, yes, now he's back 2 weeks ago, but he's clearly not fully healthy yet. And he's just played his most minutes these last couple of games. He was playing, I think the most he had played was 17 in the previous couple of weeks. And so that threw a wrench in it. A lot of stuff like that has been going on. So there's some grace, I think, to be given in terms of them figuring out what the best groups are. But that would be where I would get to eventually. Now, with that said, we saw that the Lakers can win a very difficult road game in OKC, a team that then the next game beat Minnesota pretty convincingly. Mm-hmm. Minnesota, of course, is the 1 seed
with
right now.
With that starting lineup.
In the West. Yeah, and I think they did it. It was almost weird the way that they did it. But they went to Anthony Davis, and OKC was hard doubling for the entire game. And the Lakers did a great job out of that. AD was making the extra pass. He was getting all kinds of hockey assists, and they were scoring really, really well. Now, that group was switching, and switching is actually, it's a little bit more of a passive defense. They're used to playing more of an aggressive trapping or extending style with AD in the drop coverage. And so I think if you're going to play that unit to start, then be more aggressive with it perhaps, and don't just drop off, because we saw Boston pick that apart a little bit in the first quarter, again, some in the third quarter. So it's like the pieces are there. It's not like I don't think that they have to make a trade. Like if we were having this conversation last year, we all knew a trade had to come. Okay, not just because of the record, because it didn't fit. The roster, the players were not on the roster to fit. Then they trade for Rui Hachimura. They trade for Vanderbilt, and they trade for D'Lo, and all of a sudden you've got the composition of a team that makes sense. So I think they have the players on the roster to get to a good starting unit, a good bench unit, and really have it flow. It's going to take a little bit of time, and hopefully not too much, though, because once we hit that stretch that we talked about in January, that's when they got to know who's going to be on the floor and when, and that's why they can start stacking wins.
And by the way, for the record, the quote was, "They can't be confused out there. Cannot be confused. Got to make things happen." AD, let's talk about him. Jumper starting to fall. He looks great.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing they can take away from the Boston loss is, okay, AD scored 40 on him. I mean, he was absolutely amazing against that team. And what that team did, they gave up a lot of defense to get some pretty good offensive players. Marcus Smart out the door, Robert Williams out the door, the Time Lord, good shot blocking center. You get Porzingis, a top-rate center when he's healthy. So you get plenty of offense. But AD showed that you can really attack this Boston interior. I thought that was really impressive. Something they definitely got to file away for when they play this team again. In Boston, I'm sure it'll be at that game, Mike. I think is it next month? I think it is. No, actually February.
February, yeah.
Part of the Grammy.
Basically
trip.
next month. Yeah,
exactly.
December's almost over. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the way that you can puncture this team is by beating them down low. And AD was that guy. And his three-point shots falling, Mike, first time in a long time. He's been that confident from three. Good to see him have that back. And Geet, like you said, the mid-range looks pretty good too.
Looks great.
Yeah.
So AD, Geeter, I feel like almost every day or every time that I'm on the Laker Film Room podcast, I'm finding myself needing to say something about AD being better than the narrative about what AD is.
Can we do that together?
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah. Because I know
I have wasted so much time with individuals in my life explaining to them, because life without them.
Scotty C.
A lot of them. A lot of people.
Scotty C.
A lot of people. Scotty C just hates the Lakers now and doesn't watch them. But other guys that still watch them, people that work here, people everywhere, they don't. The narrative is there, and they can't get through it. So that energy they use on the narrative, they can't use that energy to ever say like, he's doing great, or he's played the second most minutes in the league. They can't get through it gets hurt, or he's not available, or he doesn't have that dog in him, and all that stuff. So I find myself advocating for him every day, and I don't think it's that necessary. Because, by the way, I like to be critical on him too, just because that's what we do.
No,
I'm allowed to be critical, and I am. But I'm sick of having to defend him. I mean, the guy is a phenomenal talent, but I get what people also, want him a little more from him, maybe. But can we enjoy when he's going, Mike?
Well, this is one thing that I like about you, that even as a lifelong Laker fan, one of the things that I like about Laker fans and the fans that have followed
Talk about what you like about me first.
Well, you're pulled into this, is that Chick Hearn, I think, set the tone on this. This is what I've gotten from Billy Mack in Ireland and Stu and Michael. You don't just praise somebody because they're on your team, and you don't just rip somebody because they're on another team. You have to follow what you're seeing in front of you.
That's what we were taught in the 80s.
And the narrative so when I was doing the radio show with Michael Thompson, all that, I felt like I was always defending the Laker young players, because the narrative about Brandon Ingram and Julius Randle and on down the line was like, oh, these guys suck. It's like, no, they're 19 and they're being more productive.
Don't you just want to go to your buddy and be like, dude, you sucked at 19. Well, I knew you. You were complete trash.
And just relative to
and a mediocre athlete at 19. So.
Yeah. All of this is relative to what expectation is. And, of course, we understand that the spotlight on the Lakers is going to lead to some of that. But when you watch them every day and you also watch the rest of the league, this is the part that continually pops about Anthony Davis that I never understand. So I'll just lay out the case very simply. One, he's the best defensive player in the league. That's important.
Brez and I will agree.
That's important.
I can speak for Mike on this.
If you want to make an argument,
we're always talking about
If you want to make some argument for some other players, that's fine. So
he's in the conversation.
At the worst,
he's in the conversation.
Worst possible case, he's top 5. Worst possible.
Yeah,
agree.
Yeah,
and again, I think that he's the best. So that's one. And that's every night. He doesn't have bad defensive games.
Nope.
Period. He doesn't go out there and he doesn't lollygag. He doesn't fail to make his rotations. He doesn't fail to cover the weak side. He doesn't fail to defend his guy on the ball. Every single night. Now, we can also agree, I think, that every player in the NBA has off nights on offense, even the best players. Even Nikola Jokic, who was in a weird slump for him the last couple of weeks. So, and amongst so defense we've agreed on. Okay, defense. So nobody is contesting that he's an excellent defender. Now, do you know where AD ranks right now in the NBA in scoring? I want to say, so last time I checked was 2 days ago, and he was 18th, I think. And of the players, if you look at the top 30, there was only one player that had a higher field goal percentage than AD of the top scorers in the league, and that was Giannis. So Giannis is at 60%. I think AD was close to 55. Now, he also has had the fewest field goal attempts out of that same group, out of like 25 to 30 players. There's a couple other players. I think Cat, his field goal attempts are down this year. But so he's getting less shots and being more efficient and still finishing 18th in the league in scoring, while having LeBron James as the primary offensive player who has the ball.
Has the ball the whole time.
As opposed to Jokic, Embiid, who are the primary guys there. And yes, they do a little bit more, but they also get a lot more touches. So it's just like the whole narrative of can he do more? On the days that he doesn't score as much, it's typically because Billy Donovan or somebody like that in Chicago is hard trapping him the whole night. Or Mark Daigneault in OKC. Or guess what Steve Kerr did last year in the Western Conference semis? Or guess what Taylor Jenkins did in the first round? They hard trapped AD. And then he was having nights where he was scoring 22 instead of 30. And the narrative after the game is, why isn't AD being more aggressive?
He's only good on even games.
They're hard trapping him. He's
one.
Passing the ball. And I'm not arguing that he didn't have a couple games where he could have played better offensively, of course. But so do all of the primary scores. So it's just this. It's like, guys, what are we talking about here? This is at worst, for me, the sixth best player in the NBA who does not get discussed like that. And there you go. I have ranted enough, but this is something I feel like I'm saying at least once a week, Geeter, because it doesn't seem to be sticking out there in the national conference.
A rant from Trudell. Did you?
I loved it.
That was straight cash
homie. And he missed only 2 games so far, which I appreciate. We're more than a third of the way through the schedule, and he's
it's a great point.
He said he wanted to play all 82. I don't recommend that for anyone these days, but I wanted him to get to 75, and he's definitely on track for that. So you got to give him credit. How many times has he like taken a hard hit, or when he tweaked his ankle the other day, went out for like 2 minutes, came right back in the game? I give him a lot of credit for getting his body ready for the season. And yeah, true. I'm with you. Look, right now Vegas says that Gobert is the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year with AD second.
I could do 10 minutes on why that's not true.
Yeah,
I suppose we don't have the 10,
but
he's been good.
It's odds makers.
So Gobert has Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels, 2 of the best perimeter pressure defenders who are limiting what can get to the rim. And then Towns is a 7-footer to take up space. Conley as a pretty good point of attack guy, although he's older and he's slipped some. AD has played much of the year with Taurean Prince, Austin Reaves, D'Angelo Russell, and then LeBron in year 21, who in certain games defensively is amazing. In other games defensively is leaning on AD to do a lot more of that work. Now that the Lakers are playing this bigger lineup, I think you'll see the numbers start to go even further up defensively. But I believe before the Boston game, the Lakers were still like 8th or something in defense. And that's, again, AD is doing everything. Gobert does not. Gobert protects the rim. Sometimes he rotates out to the perimeter, not usually. AD rotates out to the perimeter.
That's
every
a great
game
point.
He can switch and he can drop. He's just a better player by a lot, and he's certainly a better defensive player than Gobert. And you can also check their head-to-head stats for that. You can check the playoff stats where Gobert has not done much in the playoffs. What has AD done? A title, Western. Okay, sorry, I could go on for a long time.
He is ahead of Jaren Jackson Jr. So at least he's.
If he wasn't,
past
I'm
him.
quitting the league.
Right. I mean, he dominates the guy every time they play Memphis.
He does, and I, by the way, I like Jaren Jackson.
I do
Jr.
too.
I think I like the fact he's a little bit more versatile than Gobert.
Great player.
But neither one of them is Anthony Davis on that end, and it's not particularly close. When you're using a team metric such as defensive rating, then you have to consider who the teammates are towards that, and how much of the defensive rating that the Wolves have, which is excellent, which is first in the league, how much of that is because of Gobert versus how much of that is because of the teammates I mentioned, plus a big Naz Reid coming off the bench, plus Kyle Anderson coming off the bench.
You should have this speech to the voters.
I've worked on some voters individually on this, and I certainly will continue to rant anytime you give me the opportunity. Do you want we should just do a second pregame hit on every Spectrum show where I come on with another comparison between AD and defensive player of the year candidate X.
Because then when he has moments where you can be critical, you feel like everyone piles on and I'm jumping on too. You know what I mean? Like if we could just be honest about how good he is.
Wait, Brez, do you know who leads the NBA in rebounding right now?
Anthony Davis.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, there you go.
Unless that changed from, again, 2 days ago when I looked up the stat. And I think he's 4th or 5th in blocks. And these are just the stats everybody used to look at. Yeah. Still the leader in rebounding. Thank you, B-More. So it's like those are some of the counting stats.
Leads the league in rebounding.
Second in minutes.
Ooh,
while doing all that he's doing on
Top
offense.
5 in blocks.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's just like – and look at the groups that he's been out there with.
Right.
But he falls, Brez, and that bothers everyone.
All right. Well,
I'm just
I think
saying that people there are narratives out
I think
there,
that I think that we've laid out some pretty strong arguments here, and hopefully they are heated some, and if not, then we'll keep doing it.
Next 5 games are going to be Hornets, T-Wolves, Pelicans, Heat, Grizzlies. 2 of those are on the road. It's a back-to-back. T-Wolves and the Pelicans.
Tough back-to-back, yeah.
What do they need to – it is back-to-back, right?
It is, and it's a tough one. Yeah, on the road.
Again, back-to-back. I feel like it's every night.
And that's a long flight for a back-to-back.
Not a fun one.
Hard to get to.
What do you want to see? What do you think in the next 5 games?
Well, you got to beat the teams. And again, the January schedule, not only is it a lot of home games, it's a lot of winnable games, these teams that they should beat. So why not start by beating Charlotte? This team does not have LaMelo Ball. Rozier has been missing time lately. This team is very depressed in the standings and in the lineup right now.
And in life.
Yeah, and in life. I mean,
it's been tough there. It's tough. It's been tough.
Santa forgot to drop off
franchise.
gifts. Everything's, Charlotte has had a rough.
Our friend Mitch Kupchak having a tough time down there.
What do you mean, Brez?
And in the last few years, too.
We're not far away from the site of the infamous handshake.
There it is right there, right to my left.
Oh, if we could recreate that.
Oh,
the
it's
10-year
best.
anniversary.
Oh, it was an all-timer. Just with the finger. And by the way, I just want to say, and I think you would agree with this, I always enjoyed conversations with Mitch over the years, like, and not just about basketball, but just I really enjoyed Mitch Kupchak. And shout out to Mitch.
Great gentleman.
Yeah.
But you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat, and they've done a good job of that this year. So why not continue that by winning here on Thursday in LA, and then just split those 2 games we talked about, the back-to-back. Split Minnesota or New Orleans.
You're
Win one of
going
those
4
2.
out of 5 right now for me, and then you come back and win the next 2.
There you go.
I like that 4 out of 5.
Piece of cake.
Got to split. Got to split
Gotta
on
split.
the road.
Yeah,
this is a big split.
This is one
Mike's
of the
right.
trickier. It's one of the trickier back-to-backs, and so I mentioned this just sheer geography of it, right? So you have to play Minnesota first, and then fly straight down the Mississippi River.
And it won't be the Pelicans team you played in Vegas.
Well,
That's for sure.
Especially because the Pelicans team you played in Vegas, you beat by 40.
Yeah.
They scored 89.
Was it 42?
Yeah.
It was a beating.
I
It was
think
an
it was.
absolute beating.
Yeah.
And then
It was a lot.
afterwards, Zion got absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
And for some understandable reasons, he was not really ready to play. But part of the reason he wasn't really ready is that LeBron just brilliantly and strategically took him out of the game. LeBron was guarding Zion, and I don't know that they were ready for that. And he just backed off him like 10 feet. It was like, go ahead, shoot it.
Yeah.
And Zion doesn't want to shoot, nor does he have to, because he's able to just drive into whoever. And then he tried to drive in, and LeBron took 2 charges, and Zion was just like, well what do I do now? And he's never going to impact the game much defensively. So I think he took him out of the game more so than just like Zion quit or he was not in shape and all that, and he looked all of the things that people are talking about with his weight and stuff like that. But trust me, he will be ready to play, and I don't know that LeBron is going to have the same exact level
Will he play
on
the
a back-to-back. First of all, I don't know if he's going to play the back-to-back, but if he does, is he going to have
Give me
that
a 3
exact?
and 2 right now.
Well, yeah, I think 3 and 2 you could be satisfied with out of that stretch, but I don't like to look at like the 5-game stretch thing with the Lakers is to me not my favorite thing because we never know for sure if LeBron.
Yeah,
like,
we do
with
shows every
LeBron's
night, so we kind of have to.
Well, I'll tell you before the game. If
December
you want to ask me
27th,
who's going to win on the
be
day of
more
the game,
trainer, just
and I
trying to
know
get
who's
some content out there.
playing,
Yeah.
I will tell you. So I'm just saying, like now, I could say 4 and 1, but then if LeBron's not going to play,
I got to ask you a tough question. It's a tough one. Would you trade the semifinal win against the Pelicans by 40 for the win? Instead, beat them here on the road on that second night
And
of
clinch the back-to-back
by 40.
So
Both count on your
question,
record.
are you saying that? So are you saying that you would lose?
I'm just
the
saying, would you
semifinal?
trade it? Would you trade that semifinal?
Never.
Okay, just check.
No,
I'm just checking.
take the championship.
I'm just
no,
checking.
You win the
Just
in-season
checking to see
title,
where your
man.
temperature's
Take the
at.
paycheck.
It's about winning. No,
I know.
No.
Okay, just want to see where your
that's a good
temperature's at.
Negative.
Want
Ghost
to see how
Rider.
bad you want this game coming up. That's all.
Not as much as the in-season tournament. time.
Okay.
Trudell, I looked up 2 things for you. I was
you.
listening and looking up. Gobert, minus 160 to win Defensive Player of the Year. AD second at plus 600. So right now, the
That's gonna switch.
I just
the
think
gamblers.
that's
a
such
big
a
gap.
narrative, but that's so.
Yeah.
All right. No,
Well,
this is
they're the first place team, and all he does is block. You know, he's
I
like,
guess.
gets,
Holmgren third, plus 800. Embiid fourth and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Well,
fifth.
I'm at least glad that AD is second, but this is now going to be a pet project of mine to wear down voters and to just continually put out there. And when the Lakers play the Timberwolves, you will see certain defensive metrics that on the screen. I'm promising that.
Lakeshow fans, remember, you can be a part of this show each week. Feel free to send us your questions and comments. We'd love to hear from you. We're taking a break, but when we return, it's a round of
Bucket or Brick.
Nacho's excited. Welcome back to the Lake Show podcast presented by Jack in the Box. If you're enjoying the show, you can check out more original podcasts from our Spectrum News journalists on the Spectrum News app. Just head to the podcast section. To listen to the latest episodes, you can download the Spectrum News app on the Apple App Store or Google Play. Time for Bucket or Brick presented by Jack in the Box. Lakers are team building off the court with a Madden League. Bucket or brick, you could compete in the team's Madden League. Brez, do you have those kind of skills?
Yeah, if it was like 1998, I was kicking ass at it in college and out of college. I got to brick this. I haven't played it in a while.
Were you good back in the day?
I used to play against Michael Finley. He was
nice.
He was a little younger than me at Wisconsin, but I played him a couple times. He kicked my ass.
Yeah.
I liked the Atlanta Hawks back then with who was the quarterback that was
Falcons.
Sorry, what did I say?
Yeah, you said the Hawks.
The Hawks, yeah.
Your mind's on
you got Andre Rison. You've got Michael Haynes. Who's the quarterback for that?
Wow.
I can't remember. Chris Miller.
Chris Miller? Was that when they went to the Super Bowl?
Jeff George. Jeff George?
Jeff George.
Anyway, they'd score like 80 points a game and they'd give up 90. But yeah, I haven't played Madden in a while. I'm out.
Mike, you have boys.
Yeah.
You enjoy video games.
Yep.
I know you're good FIFA.
Yeah.
How's your Madden game? Could you compete?
No, man. First of all, if you think that you're good at video games because you used to beat up on your friends in high school, maybe you held it down in Mario Kart or GoldenEye in college in the dorm room, and certainly you bring. I mentioned earlier the Sega NHL games, and that was me. Okay, I was the best high school and college. You are not as good as pro athletes. I learned this when I first started working for the Lakers. I used to do stories sometimes, and I would have a player come in, and the concept was, hey, we'll play a video game while I interview you because it'll be loose and stuff, and so I played, Lamar Odom and Jordan Farmar and Luke and some guys like that. Adam Morrison, by the way, an excellent FIFA player, underrated. And pro athletes generally are just better, especially at sports games.
Why is that?
Well, because they have a lot of time in that context to play games on the road, et cetera. And B, because they're professional athletes. Like there's a certain part of seeing the game and
competitiveness.
And if you listen to LeBron talk about football, in which I do often in the locker room, because that's the thing that he talks about almost more than anything, and he is very high level from a Madden perspective. And I have backed this up by asking some players in other scenarios.
There was a trip
I would not hang.
You and I were on a trip in 2010 together. It was the second round of the Western Conference playoffs. It was the Lakers, Utah Jazz. Mm-hmm. And I will never forget.
Sweep.
They swept their ass. I will never forget the bus running into Boozer's car. But I will also never forget that the fellas needed a PlayStation they needed to play FIFA. So one of the guys went out, might have been Farmar, went out, and just so they could all play for those 3 days that we were there.
Yeah.
And they would play all day and sweep the Jazz and come home and leave that console and never look back again.
Well, do you want to know a story on top of that story?
Yeah.
So
Bynum was a big into it. Bynum and Amo.
Bynum too, and they would travel with monitors so they could play on the plane. But it was a different trip. We were in OKC. And Farmar and Luke Walton, one of them had to go to Best Buy because they forgot it on that trip. Yeah. And at the end of the trip, Farmar was like, hey, you need an Xbox? I was like, yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
I had no money at the time, and it was the Xbox 360, I think, at the time.
And he said all you got to do is get it on the plane.
And I still have that. That's now in the garage. I eventually did get the upgrade. But so shout out to Jordan Farmar.
I will say that group was very generous as well.
It was very.
They were very generous.
Very generous team, but I really appreciated that that free Xbox.
Trudell, I got a PlayStation for Christmas last year. I haven't used it. Would you like it?
Did you really?
I took it out of the box. I tried to play Mario Kart. Kelly. Yeah. I think
is
so.
Is it PS5?
Yeah,
yes.
Might have been 2 Christmases ago. Yeah.
Bergen, everyone's going to
Can we set up a room in here with it, attached to one of the big screens?
But
oh, really? I don't know what it was. But I played it. I liked it. But I just don't play it enough. I don't know what to do.
I think you bring it in.
I'll
bring it in for the crew.
I'll happily take it.
Look at Mamba Mike over there. He's smiling. He's excited.
But I would say, find the youngest person here or somebody that is just kind of coming up and still starting to make money and give it to them. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bucket or brick? More minutes for Austin Reaves / LeBron lineups. Bucket or brick?
Yeah, I think go ahead, True.
Bucket or brick?
Strong
More
dog.
minutes for Austin Reaves, period.
Period.
Okay, let's start getting him up into the low 30s.
Is this going to happen soon, please?
I don't know.
Okay.
So Darvin Ham did have the comments the other day because we'd asked him about the minutes, and he shared that he likes the range that he's in, and he mentioned a couple of reasons why. And Darvin has. I'm not questioning what he might know some things, right, that we don't. I just do think that Austin could carry a little bit more of a load in terms of minutes, and so whether it's with the starters, which I had hinted at earlier, or this is part of the problem, though, Brez. Like, if you keep him off the bench, it's tough to get the minutes up too high without playing him in these 15-minute straight stretches. And Darvin did allude to that, and so therefore the solution, start him. And I get it. That's different from the direction that they just went in, and so maybe that doesn't happen for the next couple of weeks or something. But I think eventually he's your third best player, and his minutes just need to go up. Period.
Brez?
Yeah, got some good odds for you. He still leads Sixth Man of the Year, plus 200. Tim Hardaway, plus 350. Bogdan, plus 600. Anyway, yeah, absolute bucket for this.
Bucket that, Brez.
I don't know how, though. It's tricky. And true, I think he did a good job of laying it out. Maybe you just say, maybe it has to be a Reddish for Reaves trade, starter for backup, and go from there. But Darvin, for sure, loves Cam Reddish, the player. He likes his intensity. And I don't know about you guys, but I never heard anything about Cam Reddish being a good defensive player his first 4 years in the league. He was like a streaky shooter, not known as like a lockdown guy. Darvin saw something in him and said, I think this guy can be a pretty good defender. So do you think
Taurean Prince stays in that lineup?
I think they all stay for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, they just practiced together today as a unit, so I think it's here for a while.
Bucket or brick? Expect the Lakers to make a move at the trade deadline. You're going to stay out of this one, Trudell, because you work for the Lakers. Brez, you're going to go.
Yeah, I'm going to bucket this. A shooter. I think a shooter would be helpful. They're still like bottom 5 in all the 3-point metrics: 3-point defense, 3-point shooting, 3-point makes. Yeah, I think they need another 3-ball guy.
I'm going to bucket it as well.
That's right. You got fouled on that one.
Oh, that was going in. All right. Okay. I'm going to bucket that because I just feel they're going to make a move. I don't know if it's a big one, a small one, whatever. There'll be some sort of move. All right.
I'll bucket it too.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Okay.
I just like it. We don't have to. To me, the spot that they don't have on this roster as much, and that they haven't been getting a ton of production from, is a backup big, like a backup 4-5. I know you guys just referenced this a little bit, but that's also not saying that they could use, because any team could, a real two-way wing. But that's tough to get, and those guys are expensive.
Bucket or brick? Agree with Shaq's take on the in-season tournament banner, calling it more of an accolade flag. I don't think he's knocking so much that they raised a banner, just saying that maybe it's not a championship. I didn't hear him say it. I did read it. Mike, where do you come out on this?
I'm going to brick Shaq's statement there. This won't surprise you, as I've been a strong advocate for the in-season tournament. Some of this is coming from a soccer background, right? And I know how this works in Europe, and I get it's going to take some time for it. But the bottom line for me is, if you give all 30 teams a chance to win something and one team wins it, that's hard to do. And we're going to see that next year. We're going to see that in a couple of years, that depending on what your group is, it's not even easy to get out of your group if there are 4 teams. And even if you're paired with a group that doesn't seem like it's that good, then you have to win an elimination game in the quarterfinals just to get to the semifinal. Like, it's hard. It should be rewarded. It does not count the same as an NBA title. It never will. It's not as good.
And that's what Shaq's saying, right?
And but it's still, to me, I think accolade banner, or what's the term?
Accolade flag.
Accolade flag. Thank you. I think that is
pretty funny,
intentionally. It's funny, but it's also intentionally kind of
dismissive
of it. Yeah. And I am not being dismissive of something that everybody tries to win. One team does. It should be celebrated. They did. It's smaller. You're not gonna see a bunch of other ones. If they win again, it'll be put in the same flag.
Why doesn't the league say, hey, we wanted whatever team was going to win this to put up a little banner and recognize?
Yeah, the league did, and
they
I'm
say
sure.
That, though?
I don't know that,
like crushing the Lakers.
I don't know that they said it officially, but I think that, so this is one of those things that around the teams themselves and the players. I just heard Steph Curry talking about this. Like, I think the players and the coaches, by being in it, get it. And we're trying to win it. And I think that the groups, the fans that maybe didn't quite get it to the same degree, it's going to take a while.
And you know what? There's idiots on Instagram. I forget the guy who, because it came across, and people are bringing it to me saying, even Kobe said we don't put up division banners. And I'm like, yeah,
correct.
That was Brez's interview. You're taking our clip from 6 years ago. You've seen it. It's all over the internet.
Okay.
Right?
I actually haven't.
Do you remember when he came in?
I did over here. I think.
Yeah. He came in right
Okay.
before his jersey was being retired. And he talked about not having division or conference championship banners. We don't do that. We hang. But he wasn't talking about. There was no in-season.
No, and if I could speak on that, though, that's because...
But everyone's using it. Even Kobe
Right.
said, I'm like...
And that's because
wow. No,
you're
we
not
didn't.
actually winning anything by winning the division championship.
By the way, tell
or the
everyone
Western
that was
Conference
our...
championship.
That was our...
Yeah,
They're using
exactly.
our interview.
And it was, and not only that, but this is one of those things like Kobe, of course, is no longer with us.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to speak for him. My guess is that Kobe would have tried to win the damn thing because that's what
course he
Kobe
would've.
tried to do.
Yeah.
And if it's good enough for LeBron, for example, a similar lifelong competitor who wants to win everything, to play his best and to try to win it, I hope that would win some people over that were skeptics about whether or not people would care about it. So, Well, but I get the discussion, though. It's new. Not everybody watched like the 4 group stage games. Not everybody even watched the final game.
Yeah.
And so I get if you weren't locked in on the NBA at that time, I get why there would be some skepticism. But in 50 years, when there have been 50 champions, and hopefully not the Celtics, will ever like that kind of thing, then it's just another way for us to argue history, and I like that.
Bucket or brick?
I don't remember. I just like bricking things.
Yeah, just
I'm
brick
going
it.
to brick it.
Yeah, this pod's gone too long. Bucket or brick? Pistons losing streak will reach 30 games. They're 27 losses right now.
I'm actually going to brick this because
Are ya?
they were close last night.
They were. Celtics, Raptors, and Rockets.
That Raptors team, there's some weakness there.
Okay.
They have a chance. Actually,
They're going to lose the Celtics, obviously.
Yeah, I actually ended up watching most of the fourth quarter of this game, more accidentally than anything else. Their game last night against Brooklyn, they were right there. It was tied with 4 minutes left. So I think Toronto is very much like a Brooklyn team. Not sure they're going anywhere. I think they might
Think
have
they're
a
going to
chance
win one? What about you?
against Toronto.
Brez makes a compelling argument there. Toronto isn't that good. They're home, but sorry, Monty Williams, man, like you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Got to figure it out, and it just hasn't so far.
Is he the highest paid coach in the league?
Yeah.
The irony is not lost on me. It's pretty awesome.
Irony.
Yeah, so I think it's going to keep going.
What if we had to do pre and post for Pistons games right now? That would be tough.
I'll tell you what, we wouldn't.
Well,
it'd be
we
30
did cover
minutes.
some-
It'd be 30 minutes.
We did cover some lottery teams.
Pre and post.
true.
You'd be having plans for April 9th because you'd be done. And
That's a morbid. They haven't won since like Halloween, right? I mean, that's a morbid team to be covering right now.
It's rough, man.
thank you for listening to the Lake Show podcast presented by Jack in the Box. If you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast app. We want to hear from you. So send us your questions. Hit us up on Twitter at Geeter3, Mike_Bresnahan, Lakers reporter. Until next time. Peace out, folks.